I got up about 4 o'clock this morning and I was just pacing back and forth, thinking about a whole bunch of things. When God, and I didn't realize it was God's voice. Um, I heard a voice in my head years ago, read the Bible, read the Bible, read the Bible. I didn't know why. Why am I reading the Bible? So, for over 40 years, I read the Bible every day. Now, I kind of thought that as Christians, most Christians did this for some reason. You know, it seems to be that there are different levels of Christianity. Some people read the Bible, some people don't. Some people tithe and give offerings, some people don't. I one of the things, some of you who think you know me probably don't really know me. And I'm going to try to be transparent and take you on a journey, my journey, that might interest you. And then after I'm more transparent and talk to you about who I really am and what I've really done. And you might say, I thought I knew this guy and I liked him, but now that I know more about him, I don't have anything to do with him. I certainly hope, so some of you might leave and say, forget this guy. I thought I knew him, but man, that guy's a jerk, or that's whatever you want to think, you know. And then, but other people might actually relate. So I might lose some, might gain some. But we'll find out. We'll find out. But this Christian journey has been quite interesting. I remember once I I decided to move out on my own for the very first time, and I was going to go to church. And what I was planning on doing is, okay, I'm all in. I'm going to do this whole church thing. I'm going to seek God with all my heart. I had no idea how to do that. I'm going to seek Him. I'm going to put Him first. I'm going to move. I move to a church. I might end up in the ministry. Who knows what's going to happen? But to make a long story short, in about 8 years, I said, man, this whole Christian thing is just not working out for me. You know, I, forget this. Forget this whole church. Forget where I'm at. I'm out of here. I just want to be rich. Do you ever feel that way? Where your whole Christian experience doesn't seem to be working. You're not exactly sure why, and you're kind of sad about it, but you don't know what to do. Boy, I've been there. So but at that very moment, it's almost like, I don't know how to explain this. It's almost like I saw God the Father in heaven on his throne. He looked over to his left and he said, and he was laughing in a kind of a laughing voice. He said, I knew he was going to do that. I repeat, I felt like I heard him say, I knew he was going to do that. And I looked up and I said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing down here. I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to. It was kind of like, I was thinking maybe a little help. This is a while ago. I may not have exactly what I said correct, but that was kind of the gist of it. And I was just going, so I left. I started a career. A career. I went back to school. Mom, can I move back in? I want to go back to school. Finally, kind of like, so I got an AS degree and a technical degree. And I ended up working at Stanford Linear Accelerator for a little while. They hated me. Oh man, we were not a good fit. But then my brother-in-law called me and I went to Sun Microsystems, and I loved it. I just loved it. I remember I had no idea what I was doing there. And the AS degree that I almost completed, I wasn't quite done. And I finished when I got there. Didn't prepare me for what I was going to do there, but I loved it. So they handed me a book. I handed me a book, and it said eunuchs. I looked at the book, I looked up at them, and I said, "What's eunuchs?" And they laughed. I said, "Read the book." So I started reading the book. This is the beginning of a whole new career. I was there like 28 and a half years or so. First 10 years, I loved it. I loved it. I just loved it. So here's a little tidbit about me is that I was in a quality assurance organization. I was a tester. And so I would look at a black box, whether it was the hardware or the operating system, and I would look at it and I'd run it through tests that I'd learned how to do. I might have written some of those tests. And I learned and grew and I got better at my job. But what I did was I looked at problems I didn't understand and I didn't have the solution for. And I'd go, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. I think it's that. And I'd file a book. So for 28 and a half years, maybe 27 years, whatever, I was constantly analyzing something I didn't fully understand, filing bugs, and getting people who are smarter than me, who actually wrote the code, to take a look at the problems that I believe were there and for them to find a solution. So I never became a really great coder. And I once went into a computer lab and I looked at this new computer board it was part of a system that probably cost $1 million, $1 million. I looked at all the ASICs, all the chips on the board, and I went, wow, I have a job because of the brilliance of other people, because I have no idea how to do any of this. You know, I never learned C programming and everything, but there's a point to this. There's a point. Well, what's the point? So one of the things that I was doing for like 40 years is reading the Bible every day because I made a vow to God to read the Bible. And I resented reading the Bible. I didn't want to read the Bible. Now, some of you who are Christians, you've never read the Bible through once. Not once. And you've been in church 20 years. Now there's a voice or voices going off in your head that keep you from ever reading the Bible fully, completely. And I would like you to just kind of think about what those voices are. It might be something like, well, I don't need to read the Bible because my pastor will preach on the Bible. But here's the thing, that's impossible because your pastor is not going to read the entire Bible to you ever. So the nuances, the different scriptures that might really impact you, he may never cover. So if you're saying, my pastor will read it, or my pastor will teach me, I don't need to read the Bible, is false. Now, here's the thing is, take a good look at the way you think and all your excuses for not reading the Bible. All of the excuses for not reading the Bible. Now, it's not God, right? The Bible, in one way of looking at, is the operating system of God. The operating system of truth. And if you're not reading the Bible, there's a good possibility that you are being deceived and you're believing lies. Just think about some of the voices that are going through your head that prevent you from reading the Bible. I don't have time. Yes, you have time. Come on. I won't get anything out of it. What's the point? It's history. Blah, 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 blah. See, one thing for sure is if you follow the scriptures, the flesh fights against the spirit. So your flesh does not want you to read the Bible. And The devil does not want you to read the Bible. So if you're not reading the Bible, one of those or both of those are preventing you from reading the Bible. So I'm asking you, please read the Bible. Because what I'm finding for me, it's after reading the Bible for many, many years, I'm coming to the conclusion that this is going to sound stupid. It's a spiritual book. Of course, it's a spiritual book. But it is a book that outlines the war between God and the devil, a war that has been going on through history. And you get clues about what's going on in present day by looking at the historic history of how the devil acted and God acted throughout history of the Bible. I once said to a lady, I started formulating this idea and this thought, and I once commented to a lady, I think the Bible can be used as a template to understand all of world history. The characters change, the names change, the ideologies change, but it's the same war with different rationalizations for doing wickedness, different rationalizations for doing things, different wicked rationalizations of wicked people. I remember reading through the Bible and the Psalms and reading about all these wicked people. And I'm going, man, you guys had a real problem back there because I don't think we have any wicked people. But it's pretty obvious who the wicked people are if you read the Bible now. I used to think that, years ago, I was making like $35,000 a year, which was a lot for me. When the highest I made in 8 years was 20,000, I was up 15,000 or something like that. Anyways, I remember thinking to myself, I think our government is doing some really bad things in the world. But hopefully they're doing bad things in the right way. And they're promoting freedom, blah, blah, blah. And and I said, but I think they're doing some pretty bad things. But what am I supposed to do? I think I looked up to God. I looked up to God. God, what do you want me to do about it? I think they're doing all this crazy stuff. But I have no proof. I have no facts. I have nothing. I have your word, which points towards the clues of what wicked people are doing. But I have no proof. I remember my mom would talk about what's going on in the world, and she saw it from a different perspective. And I didn't get it. I thought she might be able to laugh. She's talking about different societies, and her brother was the same way. And it's like they knew something that I didn't know, and I never quite got it, what was going on. But now, I think they were seeing something going on, and they didn't know what to do about it. When I figured that when I was making like 35,000 a year years ago, and I came to the conclusion that we're doing some really bad stuff, it's like, what am I supposed? I'm just trying to survive down here. What am I supposed to do? The thought of praying or fasting and praying and seeking God to stop the bad stuff that I thought was going on that I had no proof about didn't even occur to me. It's like it didn't occur to me. So there's a lot I'd like to say, but some of the things that I would say is if you haven't read the Bible, you don't have the context to even listen. It's almost like I've tried having discussions with Christians before, and I've come to the realization because they don't read the Bible, it's like there's no context from which to have a discussion, and so the blinders goes up. They walk away. They say, "Oh no, that's just conspiracy theory." Blah blah blah. Conspiracy theory. It's like you can't see the wicked because they're behind the conspiracy theory. Behind the words of conspiracy theory, which blinds the eyes, are the wicked lurking doing very bad things. And if you haven't been following USAID, you should follow it because there is the proof that I've been looking for all my life. Saying, yep, I knew something bad was going on. Now I have a bigger picture. Anyways, I'll end that for tonight. But make a vow to read the Bible, you know? And if you make the vow, it's not my fault. And if you make a vow to read the Bible like 15 minutes a day out loud, and then you're really disgusted with yourself, hey, you're an adult. I just encourage you. You might end up hating me. Like, why did Paul talk me into this? Is it Paul talking you into it? Is it God trying to get you to finally read the Bible after 20 years of putting it off? Come on. What are the voices that are stopping you? Is it the flesh? Is it the devil? When are you going to break free from it? Is God speaking to you right now through me? Think about it.